Welcome back, folks, to #AskGSM for December 28th, 2015, the final episode of the year here today. Lots of great questions. Without further ado, let's get right down to them. But before we do, if you do want to send in a question, you can tweet me on Twitter at WrestleRant with the #AskGSM. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Graham.Jason.Matthews. Leave a comment on the post I usually put up on Sunday nights. I did not put it up yesterday. I was busy in New York City yesterday. But if I don't put up the post, you can always put a question on the wall itself at Graham GSM Matthews. And also right here in the comments section on this very video, I'll be sure to include your question in next week's edition. So like I said, let's get right down to it. Hopefully you guys had a great Christmas break. Final Raw of the year tonight, and I'm looking forward to it. So our first several questions come from Captain Sunshine on YouTube. Several long-winded questions, but very good questions nevertheless. First question is, do you ever hate those John Cena Vicky Guerrero's interactions where the jokey babyface just decides to make fun of Vicky instead of reacting to anything she's trying to say? Example, Cena and Lawler making the "your mama's so fat" jokes. Do you feel disconnected when the crowd is eating that shit up? Because that's when the opener, Reigns and Stephanie was, when Reigns was the man, supposedly facing excruciatingly insurmountable odds for the past year, is just chilling and smiling, not giving a, righteous fuck about anything he goes, you mad bro, and okay, so basically what the question is trying to say, does that type of stuff bother me when, the baby face is kind of bully up on the heels? And I know exactly what you're talking about, Vicky and John Cena, which was almost exactly 5 years ago. I watched the segment back just yesterday or a few days ago when John Cena was making fun of Vicky with Dolph in the ring, and they used to do that all the time with Vicky Guerrero, making your fat jokes and stuff like that. You're so ugly. They used to do that all the time, but one particular instance was, I want to say, December 20th, 2010, one of those episodes. I'm pretty sure it was the 20th. You can go back and check it out. The segment lasted, maybe 10 minutes. It was a very long segment where Cena all he would do was just make fun of Vicky Guerrero, although she never did anything to him. And yeah, sure makes for a funny segment for the kids, but otherwise, it's not sending a very, positive message. Not that wrestling really ever does, and, storyline-wise, with all the bullying, it's wrestling. But I just thought that was completely unnecessary. I'm absolutely with you there. I felt like that was, I don't even think that was scripted in. I think that was just something they did on the cuff. They just kept on making these jokes, and sometimes she wouldn't even really know. She talked about that, I think, on Jericho's podcast not too long ago. Where she talked about being made fun of all the time. She just kind of didn't really let it get to her or whatever, and that it was just her character. But you can kind of tell that it did bother her, and rightfully so. I mean, there were very nasty things they were saying about her every single week, but that specific segment, the Stephanie thing didn't really bother me too much, because like I've said in the past, what's also unnecessary to me is when Stephanie slaps people for absolutely no reason, including Roman Reigns a couple weeks ago on Raw, where she slapped him over and over and over just last week with Tom Phillips, and she never gets her comeuppance. Very, very rarely does she get her comeuppance in WWE. So the Reigns thing with last week, I can kind of understand. It was still annoying, but not to the exact level, not to the same extent that that Vicky and John Cena was about 5 years ago. That was just completely over the top. And I agree, it's completely unnecessary. It does not make the babyface look any better. It makes him look like a complete douche for making fun of this poor person for absolutely no reason. And then when someone comes out later on in the night or later on the next week, like a CM Punk or a Dolph Ziggler, and makes fun of, or, chastises Cena for making fun of these heels, they're absolutely right. You still boo them anyway, but they're absolutely right. So yeah, it really is annoying, and I would wish they kind of have stopped doing that. In the next 4 years that Vicky was with WWE, they would still make comments and jokes, especially Lawler. Lawler was always the one to make fun of Vicky Guerrero. Unnecessarily so, but thankfully they've kind of moved away from that. The Reigns-Stephanie thing isn't really to that same extent, but I can kind of see what you're saying. Their second question, speaking of Reigns, isn't it funny that Vince McMahon made a notorious comment about millennials on the Stone Cold podcast, and is now centered around his company around the most millennial character ever? He gets everything he wants, he doesn't care, and even if you boo him, he'll just do whatever. It's fine, you're all just haters. That's a great point. That is an absolutely great point, that they're kind of making Roman Reigns' character to be the stereotypical millennial that Vince was talking about in the Stone Cold podcast a little over a year ago. That's a very great comparison. I don't really know what to say to it other than just that's a very funny comparison. Never would have guessed that. I mean, it depends what kind of side of Roman Reigns we're getting here. They are starting to improve his booking a little bit, just in terms of what he says, and I don't want him to become the next Stone Cold Steve Austin, where he's stunning people every single week like he did to Vince a couple weeks ago on Raw. But if they can make him more to be out, make him out to be more of an aggressive character, doesn't really give a shit. Like I said, the Stephanie thing didn't really bother me too much, because Stephanie rarely gets her comeuppance. If he's doing that to a heel that never did anything to him, then I kind of get it, but the millennial thing kind of comes in doses with Roman Reigns, like I said, with a couple weeks ago with the Tater Tots comment, and just gets a title shot, or what you're saying also kind of translates behind the scenes too, and people kind of infer that Roman Reigns just gets things handed to him, which I don't really typically believe. I don't really believe the reports or what people say that he's a dickhead. I've never met him, so I can't really attest to that, but I don't know. I feel like what you're saying also kind of goes behind the scenes too with the Royal Rumble stuff, where he just got it handed to him. That's not really his character on screen, if that makes any sense. But that is a great comparison, though, the whole millennial thing. I don't know if that's not really a question, but it's a great comparison. Their third question: should Dolph Ziggler selling get some context? This has been bugging me for a while, and I don't know how to explain it without sounding psychotic. Ziggler knows how to sell, but the type of selling he does is so unique to the show. He's the only one doing. He's flopping around on the ground, scratching and crawling to the ropes after a Kevin Owens clothesline, crying and quivering. It just looks melodramatic. He does it too much. Is anyone tired of seeing him getting his ass kicked? It would help if he was an exceptional thing on a 1 hour show, not the exception in a 3 hour. Oh, you said exception. Oh, okay, I know what you mean. The exception on a 1 hour show, but not the exception on hour 3. So Dolph Ziggler selling. Basically, you have a lot of long comments. I'm going to try to sum them up in the best of my ability here. So Dolph Ziggler's selling, it never really bothered me, but he does do it way too much. Like at one point, people would be saying, oh, he's the greatest seller in the company. I don't really hear that too much nowadays, just because he does do it way too much. He's definitely got to cut down on the selling, just because he does it way too much. He makes it look way too cheesy and over the top. I think even Stone Cold Steve Austin has called him out in the past for his selling on his podcast. He does do it way too much, and he does do it in every single one of his matches, so I do agree he's got to do it maybe, even less, or not do it at all, or whatever. Again, I don't really know what your question is here, other than should his selling get some context, I guess. If he gets, killed by, fucking Big Show or something like that, or I don't know. I'm trying to think of like Sheamus, if he bro kicks him, maybe, I guess. I don't know, but not when he gets a Kevin Owens clothesline. Otherwise, it doesn't really make those moves mean as much. If he's selling every move like $1 million, like he just got killed, then it kind of makes those moves seem less impactful, less intense. If you kind of get my drift here, and that if he's doing it all the time with every single move he gets hit with, it doesn't really mean as much. Their next question: should the Slammy Awards just be done with? The thing about the Slammys is that they started off as a wink wink, nudge nudge statement on stoogy award shows. WWF thought, what if we did an award show but made it fun and 80s wrestling weird? Why do you think Vince is doing that grand musical Stand Back exists? Why do you think it exists when he does the Stand Back music video? Now the self-awareness left, everything is done by the app votes, and the company is receiving awards from themselves. Again, you have a lot of long questions here, so I implore people, if you're going to send in 7 questions, please do not send in very long paragraphs, because, we got a long show. I'm just going to sum these questions up. I'm sorry, Captain Sunshine, but basically your question was, should the Slammy Awards be done with? Yes. I mean, either, I said this last week on Wrestle Rant Radio, but either make them exclusive to the network, where they're just a hour-long show. I don't know if you can go back to what they were in the 80s, and they're on the network if you want to watch them out, and if you want to watch them, if you want to check them out, where they would go to a banquet hall and they would deliver these awards, kind of what like they used to do at the Hall of Fame. That doesn't really bother me as much that they do that in an arena, because that's, there's no wrestling on that show. The award shows, we have the awards, which are always kind of stoogey anyway, and then we have a match right after. It's very, very formulaic. The awards rarely ever mean anything. Anyone rarely shows up to accept them, so they're kind of pointless. I would much rather they just have it be a network exclusive thing, like what they did on the pre-show, where they show the nominees and they have the guest hosts, or not the guest hosts, the panelists, say who won the award, and then maybe show a pre-tape of someone accepting the award if they're not going to be there to accept, and they know a week ahead of time. They do the voting over the course of a week and not in 5 minutes during the commercial break. I do not at all think that is a very smart way of doing the voting, because you only get a certain chunk of people in that 5 minutes. I can't. I'm only speaking for myself here. I tried to vote last week. I didn't even get any service. My internet here sucks. So I was trying to vote. I couldn't get through. So my vote didn't count. I'm guessing really the only people who vote in those things in the 5 minutes they have during commercial breaks are not diehard fans like myself and yourself and whoever. It's usually just the kids who have their iPads, have their phones on the WWE Network, and they're going to vote for their favorite superstar, not who they think should win. It's a popularity contest, is what the Slammy Awards have become. I was surprised about Seth Rollins. Maybe they were rigged. I don't know. Most of them, from what I believe, were not rigged. They were legitimate. But the point I'm trying to make here is that making that an exclusive network show, a network exclusive show, I feel like would be a lot better for the awards, would be better for Raw. Essentially, it's just an excuse to not write a 3-hour show one week. I know it was a holiday week last week, but in the past, it's the same exact thing for a go-home show for a pay-per-view. The night after a pay-per-view, they usually hold it right before or after TLC. It's a waste of 3 hours, because the awards rarely mean anything. The categories suck. Sometimes the nominees are pretty good. But it just makes for a very boring 3 hours. Last week was very bad. I try to be positive, but last week the awards were meaningless. No one showed up to accept them. The wrestling was kind of pointless too. The whole flow of the show was just not good. So again, put it on the network exclusively, or like you said, just be done away with it, just altogether. From my understanding, the only reason they were brought back to begin with is to boost ratings for WWE. When they were brought back in 2008 as a special, along with the draft and the freaking, what else did they do? The Hall of Fame and all these other 3-hour specials, old school Raw, to kind of boost ratings for Raw. But they have yet to really do that. If anything, the rating went down significantly a lot last week, which was expected to, because the week before that, the Raw rating went up a lot because of the title change, Vince McMahon being there, the night after a pay-per-view. So, that being said, I really don't think it's really serving that purpose anymore. I think it's more of a USA Network thing than a WWE Network thing, or than a WWE thing. So again, either put it on the network or do a half-hour special like they do at the Hall of Fame. Like you air it maybe before Raw in a banquet hall or something like that, not during Raw, because it's not doing anything for the ratings. That's only if you want to keep it around. If you want to keep it around, do it on the USA Network for a half hour on the WWE Network. Doing it during Raw has rarely worked. I look forward to it for the returns and whatnot, but this year, or this past year, we got Seth Rollins, which was cool, but other than that, Santino, Nikki Bella, really, didn't really care for the show. Their next question, what's with Nikki Bella? Basically, their question was, why did Nikki Bella hug Paige at the top of the stage last week after they just feuded for the entirety of 2015? That was the last thing in my mind. Honestly, you're putting way too much thought into it. Yes, it makes absolutely no sense. And I'm not even just saying, that's wrestling. It does suck. I mean, it absolutely does not. It's not a travesty that Nikki Bella hugged Paige. That's basically always the way things have worked in WWE. Even when people have been feuding for months and months and months of babyface and heel, when that face goes heel, they're buddies again. I'm not saying that's the right way of doing things. It's just the way that's always been. I'm not saying it's right. But what I'm saying is that the whole segment was not meant to be logical. It was just kind of dumb in that it was meant to parody the Steve Harvey thing and the Miss Universe competition or whatever it was. I didn't see it. I only heard about it. That was the whole purpose of the segment. It was not even supposed to be anything logical, like rarely anything is in WWE, but you're putting way too much thought into it. That wasn't even the purpose of the segment. It was the whole Steve Harvey thing. It was stupid. They were going to make fun of it. You had to know they were going to make fun of it with the Slammy Awards. But that's why they did it. That's why she hugged Paige, because they were kind of parroting what happened with the Miss Universe competition, I think earlier on that day or on Sunday night or whatever. I don't watch award shows other than the Slammies, and I probably shouldn't watch those either. But anyway, moving on to the next question here. Are the New Day becoming latest victims of lose matches as champions until it counts, implying that all the other matches you're setting up are pointless? Yeah, like they lost, twice to Lucha Dragons, going to TLC, then they went to TLC. They lost to Lucha Dragons on SmackDown a couple weeks ago, then they beat them on Super SmackDown. Yeah, they are kind of becoming the latest example of that. I'm not very happy with it. Again, it's the way it's always been. WWE's booking strategy is, let's have them lose all these non-title matches and only win when it counts, making the casual viewer think that if we win these non-title matches, if they win these non-title matches, then they'll win the championship, although that's rarely the way it works out. Again, it's booking 101 for WWE, but I'm not saying I'm agreeing with it. And I'm not really happy that the New Day are becoming the latest examples of that, as you said. It makes those champions look weak. It makes the championships look weak. They only win when it matters. Only when the championship is on the line. Any other day of the week, they'll lose and lose and lose. What does that say about their titles? It makes the titles look completely worthless. Why hold a championship if all you're going to do is lose? People who don't hold titles win more than the people who do hold titles sometimes in WWE. I can't really speak for now. I'm not really thinking off the top of my head. But there have been times in the past where champions have lost every single week. Wade Barrett being one of them earlier on this year when he lost almost every single match that he had in the first 6 months of 2015. And then after that, he would win. He won more as King of the Ring early on anyway than he would as the Intercontinental Champion. And that's when you know the title is in the shitter. It doesn't mean anything, So again, the New Day, it's slowly becoming the case for them as well. I don't agree with it. It shouldn't be the case with them. But it's looking like that is becoming the case with them because they are losing non-title matches. They lost to the Usos last week in a 3-on-2 handicap match, which was ridiculous. I do not agree with that. I know they're setting up the Usos maybe as the next challengers for those titles, but I don't agree with them doing, having the challengers beat them and then getting a title shot. What happened to the good old-fashioned number one contenders matches? We rarely see those nowadays in WWE. Bring those back and make those titles mean something again. And their final question. This is about the SmackDown episode, and these questions are long enough as it is, but who else is proud? Who else is proud of Charlotte for smartening up against WWE distraction finishes? For the longest time, I wanted someone in WWE TV to ignore whatever them at ringside and shenanigans and just... Okay, so what they're talking about is on Super SmackDown last week, when Becky Lynch was getting distracted, or she got attacked by Team Bad at ringside, and during Charlotte's match versus Brie Bella, and instead of going to help her, she just instead won the match. So, yeah, we've never really seen that before. Technically, it was a heel tactic because Charlotte didn't help Becky Lynch, but instead she focused on her match. But I guess what made her a heel in that respect was that even after she won, she still kind of continued to make fun of Becky Lynch. It wasn't like she went to go console her immediately afterwards. She celebrated her win, and then she went over to ringside to go, console Becky or laugh at her or mock her or whatever. Yeah, it was kind of refreshing, although it was kind of done in a heelish way, in that when someone gets attacked at ringside, she completely doesn't pay any attention to it whatsoever at ringside, and then she instead focuses on her match. So, yeah, I guess it was kind of refreshing in that respect, in that it's not something you really typically see, because, normally in wrestling, when someone gets attacked at ringside, whether it's your friend or whoever, they get distracted, and she did get distracted. Don't kid yourself here. She did look over for a solid 15 seconds or so. Brie Bella was just down long enough for her to lock in the figure four. That was a little bit stupid. When Brie Bella was down for like 2 minutes, and she didn't reverse, she didn't get back up or whatever from the figure four. So let's not give WWE too much credit here. Moving on forward now to the other questions from the first KFC. Should the Slammy Wars become WWE exclusive? Like I said, absolutely. I feel like they're completely pointless. My voice is kind of shot. I was talking all day yesterday in New York City, so I apologize. But anyway, should the Slammy Wars become WWE Network exclusive? Yes. Like I said, I feel like the 3 hours of Slammy Wars drag way too much, more than they normally do for a typical Monday Night Raw. No one cares about the awards. The voting is just kind of dumb. Well, that's what your next question was. Do you think the Slammy Award winners was rigged or legit? They were definitely legit. Maybe Seth Rollins they might have rigged. I feel like he might have won anyway, but they might have rigged that one because they brought him in and they didn't want to bring him in unless he was going to win Superstar of the Year. So I have a feeling that one was legitimate. But other than that, I feel like every other one, that one might have been rigged, but all the other ones I believe were legitimate. You can kind of tell based off the babyface booking of these guys and being a popularity contest, whatever. But yeah, I feel like the voting is not the it's kind of the issue, but the winners aren't the right people aren't winning, but they're not giving the viewers enough time to vote. They're only giving them 5 minutes during commercial break. You, me, and the average Joe are not going to go out of our way during a 5-minute break. I'm going to go to vote. I'm going to go to the bathroom, get something to eat, get something to drink. I'm not going to sit there on my iPad or phone. I have done it in the past, but last week my service was out, my internet wasn't working. I don't get service in some parts of my room, so I said, you know what, fuck it, I'm not gonna vote. Who cares? And then people like Neville won and stuff like that, and I feel I would have felt like a fool anyway for wasting my time voting if all these undeservedly people won. All these people won undeservedly. But anyway, the voting, they need to give more time to vote, or just put it in a banquet hall or something like that, or just do it on the network like they did last week on the pre-show, because doing it the way they did it last week on Raw has never really worked. It does nothing for ratings, it does nothing for the quality of the show, it does nothing for any of the winners. It's just essentially a waste of time. Frank Cashier 15, will Damian Sandow ever return to TV? If so, when would be the best time for him to return, and who should he feud with? Will he ever return? I feel like he has to at some point. He's still under contract. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gotten rid of him. They would have gotten rid of him by now, right? I mean, otherwise, he would have been released. So, I don't know. I mean, I've really not given up on Damian Sandow. I love Damian Sandow. It was cool to see him last week at the Slammy Awards, albeit on the pre-show when he won the award for Double Cross of the Year or whatever it was. But having him return as like a regular character on WWE TV, to the point like where he was on TV every single week as Damien Mizdow, the guy's been off TV for the better part of the year. He hasn't appeared on Raw in a match since May of this year, and that was 7 months ago. So by this point, and he's not injured, he has no visa issues or anything like that, he's just not on TV. And they have nothing for him. They really, largely have never really had anything for him, if you think about it. He made chicken salad out of chicken shit with the whole intellectual savior of the masses gimmick, a gimmick that we've seen multiple times before, like I'm better than you gimmick. He made the most out of that, made it absolute gold. They gave him Money in the Bank, which, again, they never really had a plan for him to cash in. He lost all of his matches when he had that briefcase in tow, lost to John Cena. Again, for the better part of 2014, he was on TV, but he was doing the dumbass impersonations, and they had nothing for him. And even as Damien Mizdow, they had nothing for him until he started to get over on his own. And even then, they wouldn't throw the guy a bone. They had him, they gave him the WWE Tag Team titles, albeit for a month. And then after that, he went on to do nothing. He didn't even win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. He lost. And then after that, he went on to do absolutely nothing. The Macho Mandow thing was very short-lived. Even the thing with Curtis Axel, even before that happened with the whole Hulk Hogan thing, and he had to drop that gimmick. He wasn't on TV anyway. That happened in July. He hadn't been on TV since May. What happened? But anyway, do I have any hope for Sandow coming back to TV in the near future? Not really, just because if he hasn't come back already, I feel like he'll probably never come back. It's really hard to say, but if he was to come back, when would be the best time? Probably now, as soon as possible. I wouldn't say wait until after WrestleMania, because it's already December, and you would have to wait another 4 months. I want him back now, even if he's on TV, period. You just get him on TV. The guy is way too good to just be wasted. Not even wasted. Well, technically wasted, but the guy, how can I say someone is being underutilized or not being booked properly if they're not even on goddamn TV? No one even knows this guy is still with the company because he's never on Raw. But yeah, if I was going to bring him back right now, who would I put him in a feud with? Maybe rekindle the feud with The Miz, just because that's where they kind of left off, and they never really did that feud to its full potential. At this point, no one would give a shit. No one's going to give a shit about whatever Sandow's involved in, because the guy's been off TV for the better part of 2015. But it's a logical step forward and kind of moving forward. They did the whole Slammy Awards thing last week, where Miz almost tried to steal Slammy, and Damien Sandow stole it right back. So you can do that feud again as Damien Sandow. None of this Mizdow shit or fucking the mocking or the Macho Mandow. Just let him be himself. If you do that feud, and that feud was kind of rushed and it was never really fleshed out when they did it right after WrestleMania, then he might have a chance of getting over again. Other than that, I really don't know who you put him in a feud with, because people aren't going to really people don't really care about the Miz as it is anyway. But at least it's logical from a storyline standpoint to put him in a feud with him, because you're not going to put him in a feud right off the bat with a I don't know, a Seth Rollins or a Roman Reigns or a Dean Ambrose or someone like of that caliber, you know what I mean? He's got to start from the bottom and work his way back up if he has any hope, any aspirations of getting back to the top of WWE. Like he was there to begin with, but you know what I mean? He was never really, he was over at that level, but he was never really at that level. You know, he had that briefcase for a while, but like I said, he lost every single match he had as Mr. Money in the Bank, which really went to show what they thought of him as a competitor. I mean, they might have been high on him. I know he was a Triple H guy for a time in 2012, but after that, they did nothing with him. He never won the tag team titles with Cody Rhodes. He never won the IC title in 2012. He didn't win the World Heavyweight Championship. He had the tag team titles with The Miz for a month, and he got over because of something dumb, because of something he did, not because of what Creative did. He lost the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and he's not been on Raw since. So, if that doesn't say anything about his booking, I don't know what does. But his second question, will Jason Jordan and Chad Gable be used correctly on the main roster? I can't see how they won't be. You know, I look at those two guys as a tag team. Chad Gable by himself, I've heard rumors in the past, oh, he'll never be a top guy. I've never really looked at him as like a future WWE champion anyway. I know Kurt Angle was, but Chad Gable's a little smaller than Kurt Angle. But he can be a top star for this company. I don't know if he's going to be a world champion, but the guy is so entertaining. He's a great wrestler. He's got the full package. Push the guy. You know, and they kind of currently are in NXT, a part of the tag team with Jason Jordan, which they should continue to pursue going forward, because that tag team is great. Jason Jordan, I've really warmed up to him in this role on Breaking Ground, seeing what he's been through, finally showing some personality and being able to show what he's fully capable of in the ring. So I'm a big fan of Jason Jordan now, more than I ever was before in the tag team with Ty Dillinger. That never really worked out. It was just kind of two people paired together for no reason with no chemistry. But, yeah, I mean, again, I look at Jason Jordan and Chad Gable, and they're like Finn Balor to me. Like, it's going to take a real effort to fuck these guys booking up on the main roster. Like, you would have to go out of your way to make sure they don't succeed. Because once they show up on Raw and SmackDown, I guarantee you people will just connect with these people. I know, like an NXT, Full Sail is completely different from a 10,000 person arena on Raw and SmackDown, where some of these people don't even watch NXT. But again, like Kevin Owens, despite tapping at the John Cena, still got over anyway as a top heel in the company. And he is technically a top heel, because we really don't have any heels right now. He's more legitimate, more credible than anyone in the League of Nations, I'll tell you that much right now, who have been main eventing Raw for the past month. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that I look at them, and it's going to take a real effort to make sure they don't succeed. Finn Balor, when he gets on Raw, guarantee you he's going to be over. The face paint, the entrance, the guy's going to make his goddamn entrance, and he's going to be the most over person on the roster. Okay, maybe not that much over, but he will be over with the audience, you know? Gable and Jordan, let them wrestle one match on Raw, people will love these guys. It's, you know, I could see like with the Vaudevillains with their over-the-top gimmick, or Dash and Dawson, or a little bit more old school, or Blake and Murphy. I have more concerns for them than I do any other tag team, just because I just don't think based off, I mean, they could always call these guys up and not be used correctly, but in terms of getting over, will they flourish? I feel like they will, because they just have a natural gimmick. It's not even really a gimmick. Like the Vaudevillains thing, I can kind of see not really working out well on the main roster. But these guys don't really have a gimmick. They're just themselves, who are great wrestlers and have this mat-based, like, persona about them, like an Olympic kind of thing, like the world's greatest tag team. So, again, I feel like they will get over. Will they be used correctly? For a tag team not to be used correctly is kind of, I mean, it's a lot easier to win the tag team titles than for a singles person from NXT to get called up and win the WWE title. There's only so many tag teams, so again, it's going to take a real effort from WWE to not get them over, because if they don't even do anything to help them, they're going to get over regardless, trust me. At RJ_Marceau, my brother from Wrestle Rant Radio, his question was, who will have a better 2016? Sheamus, King Barrett, Alberto Del Rio, or Rusev? Who will have the worst out of the League of Nations? So, out of those four guys who will have the better 2016, probably Del Rio, because I feel like they're probably the highest on him. Sheamus is damaged goods. I like Sheamus as a heel, but his booking the past couple, since he came back almost, has been atrocious. As RJ would say, it's been putrid. Just win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. All these shitty promos, it's just not working. Rusev fell down the fucking cliff this year from the feet of John Cena and now doing next to nothing on Raw. King Barrett, I've lost all hope. I mean, I would love to see him finally get used properly, but I had hope when he won King of the Ring. If they weren't going to use him right then after he won that tournament, then I don't really have any hope they're going to use him right at all. Del Rio, I mean, I like him the least out of all four of these guys, but I just feel like he's going to have the better 2016 just because they're so high on him and they brought him back with a high-paying contract. They want him to be the face of the Latino fan base. So probably Alberto Del Rio. The worst, I got to go with Barrett. I mean, Rusev and Sheamus, they kind of like Barrett. They just don't give a shit about it at all. I'm surprised he's even still around. They just kind of keep him around to be the joke, not the Joker, the laughing stock of the company, pretty much. Because what has he done in the last 5 years? He's held the Intercontinental Championship 5 times. Every single one of those reigns, for the most part, were terrible. Because all he did was fucking lose. The guy is a glorified loser. If he wasn't going to win a world title in 2010 or 2011 or 2012 or whenever, I don't think he's ever going to win a world championship. And even if he did, that it would mean nothing because the guy is a loser. The guy is a loser. They really got to do a massive overhaul booking of this guy, massive character overhaul for Bad News, King Barrett, Wade Barrett, whatever the hell you want to call him. Just because in his current character, no one gives a shit. Yes, doing better in the League of Nations is good. That it's cool that he's in a prominent faction. But again, the guy is not winning any matches. He's a fucking loser. And it's a real shame because the guy is great. But anyway, best 2016 out of these 4 guys, Del Rio. Worst, probably Barrett. Let's not kid ourselves here. At Swagzio and Seth Rollins return, should he be a face or a heel? And should J&J Security return with him? I'd be fine if Jamie Noble and Joey Mercury did not come back at all. I mean, they were a fun little act while they were with the Authority. I just want the Authority to go away, period. If he was going to come back, and maybe you can bring J&J Security, but I just want Rollins to be his own entity when he comes back. He should be a babyface. He's going to be over as all hell. He got a big pop when he came back last week. The only real reaction on the entire show, other than when they thought Brock Lesnar showed up, and he didn't, it was Paul Heyman. But yeah, I feel like the ready-made story is there with him being a babyface. He can come back as a heel. He probably will come back as a heel knowing WWE. But there is a story in place for him to come back as a babyface. Why wouldn't you bring him back as a babyface? The story is there. The Authority can say they ousted him for this new guy, for Sheamus or Roman Reigns or whoever. They said, he's too weak, whatever. They plant all these little seeds over the next 8 months or so. When he finally comes back and gets his vengeance on a heel Roman Reigns or Triple H or whoever. So yeah, he should be a babyface. He'll probably come back as a heel, but as far as J&J Security is concerned, I'd be fine if they weren't really brought back at all. I mean, I really just want the Authority to be done with, not add people to them. They really have nobody left as it is. It's only Triple H and Stephanie. Big Show's, I guess, gone. He's been gone for a while. Kane's out of the Authority. Rollins got hurt. J&J Security's gone. Orton's gone. So there really is no one left in the Authority. They're still technically a thing because Stephanie and Triple H are still around. But yeah, I wouldn't really bring them back. I mean, they were entertaining, but if Rollins is going to be a babyface, then there's really no reason to bringing them back. I mean, for a one-off appearance, maybe that'd be cool. But other than that, there's really no purpose in bringing back J&J Security at this point. And his second question, should Neville and The Miz form a tag team? That would be fun. I don't know if it would be the best thing for Neville, though, just because it would be a fun little thing. They've kind of already had it in place. It looks like they're feuding, not Miz. I mean, I know he's kind of, sarcastically saying, oh, I'm going to take you under my wing, kid, I don't think it's really leading to a tag team. I think it's leading more to a feud between the two than anything. It could lead to a tag team or a partnership or whatever, which would be interesting if you want to go that route. I just think, again, if you look at history, what history has taught us, if you're in a tag team with The Miz, it's going to be great, it's going to be entertaining, but once that tag team breaks up, whoever his partner is will go nowhere. John Morrison was the only person that Miz has teamed with in the last decade that really went anywhere, and even he became irrelevant after a while. I mean, he won a Intercontinental Championship, he won a few titles, but other than that, they really did next to nothing with him on Raw, and he was gone out of the company by late 2011. R-Truth became a loser. I mean, The Miz is technically a loser too, but he's on a higher level than all these other guys, because some of these guys aren't even on TV, and Miz is. Morrison, gone. R-Truth, loser. Alex Riley, injured, but was never really on TV anyway. Damien Mizdow, off TV, loser. So what's going to happen to Neville? He's going to become the latest example of that. I already know I give him too much shit as it is for being a loser because he loses almost all of his matches. But it's better than being off TV altogether. Like Damien Mizdow, where the hell is he? So I would not put the two in a tag team just because typically when they break up, Miz always is the one that survives and the tag team partner just kind of fades off into obscurity. So I would not put them in a tag team. I like the idea of a feud. They're kind of adding more character development behind it, which is cool. With Miz, I mean, the whole, you got big ears thing is so stupid and petty and such a Vince McMahon thing. But other than that, the feud is cool. And I wouldn't really put them together as a tag team because just thinking of the aftermath and where Neville might go after that, considering what history has taught us, I wouldn't do it. At Sean Markistic, he's got a couple questions here. First one being, who will Roman Reigns lose the WWE World Heavyweight Championship to? I don't know, John Cena? I mean, I really haven't thought out that far. I mean, there's a couple different scenarios that we can go. Someone said on the Cell Monsters podcast that I thought it was an amazing idea where Roman Reigns is forced to defend the WWE Championship in the Rumble itself. You don't vacate the belt, but you put the belt on the line in the match. Kind of like 1992, but in this case, you have a champion going in. It's not vacated. That's a fucking great idea, especially if you were to make Roman Reigns number one. That is an amazing idea that I would love to see play out. Not because I don't want to see Roman as champion, and he can always retain the title predictably enough. And technically that would mean he would have to win the Rumble twice. But you can always have Ambrose win, which I don't really see happening, or Lesnar, I feel like people would not boo. So you can have Lesnar win and win the championship, setting up Lesnar and Reigns again for WrestleMania, which would be fine in my book, honestly. I don't know who he will lose the championship to, but some popular candidates, Triple H, hopefully not. That's a match I want to see at WrestleMania, but not over the championship. The championship does not need to be on the line for that match. So not Triple H. Brock Lesnar would be fine. Dean Ambrose would be cool. I don't see that happening. They could always keep the belt on Roman until Rollins gets back. I don't see that being the case, but it would be pretty cool. Again, a Reigns-Cena match at WrestleMania is possible too, so they could always have him drop it to Cena, giving him his 16th World Championship. Again, I hope not, but that's always the case too. I don't know. There's not really one clear path I see them going with Roman Reigns as champion, which makes it fun, which makes it exciting, and that's what I'm looking forward to tonight, and Mr. McMahon coming back and seeing what happens. Seeing what happens tonight on Raw to see if it leads to a Rumble match, championship match, or, him facing Triple H at the Rumble, or Sheamus again, which is my bet, but which I'll get to back in a second. But, I don't know who's going to lose the championship to. That's what kind of makes it fun. It's not like, CM Punk had a great reign as champion in 2012, but it was kind of obvious where they were going with it, and then he was going to drop the belt to The Rock at the Royal Rumble. We don't have that predictable path anymore. We don't really know who Roman Reigns will drop the championship to, other than maybe Lesnar or Cena. I have no idea. We can only really speculate what their top matches are for WrestleMania. We've heard Cena Taker, but again, all these are just rumors. Take them with a grain of salt. The WrestleMania cards in recent years have kind of been thrown together at the last minute. Reigns and Lesnar we kind of saw coming. Triple H and Sting we saw coming from Survivor Series, but Rollins Orton I did not know for a fact was going to happen. Cena Rusev kind of happened in the last minute. So you never really know until it happens. We got a couple months, so we'll see what happens on the road to WrestleMania. He could drop the belt tonight for all we know, but we'll see. His second question, who do you see Bray Wyatt feuding with next, and will he lose the feud? That's a great question, because it's a legitimate concern. Will he lose his next feud? Probably. I hope not. I talked about this last week. I don't know who he's going to feud with next. Right now, it just looks like they're just killing time before the Rumble. They put him with the ECW Originals again last week on Raw and SmackDown. Like, oh my fucking God, end this feud already. I do not care about this feud anymore. It was great at TLC. It was great the next night on Raw in Philly in that Extreme Rules match, which I thought was awesome. But beyond that, I really do not care about that feud and keeping the Dudleys, having them lose to the Wyatt family every single week. It's great the Wyatt family are winning, but it's obvious that they're doing what they've done in the years past in the feuds with John Cena and Undertaker, that they build up Bray Wyatt in the months leading up to the WrestleMania event, only to have him lose to whoever he faces. Brock Lesnar was brought up. I talked about it last week on hashtag AskGStem, or no. I think I talked about it on Wrestle Rant Radio, and I put up a clip about it here on the channel. But beyond that, I mean, Lesnar, Wyatt, it's a cool match. It's something new, but Lesnar's going to win, so what's the point? And if you asked me 2 years ago, I'd probably be more open to it. But Wyatt has to win at WrestleMania this year. He has to fucking win. I don't care if he lost to John Cena, Taker, or Heath Slater. He lost. A loss is a loss, people. The aftermath of both of those feuds was so bad. The guy is not even close to a main event star right now. Bray Wyatt, I'm talking about. John Cena, if the aftermath was there and they made him out to be a star with an amazing entrance and the match was great, he looked strong in defeat, I wouldn't be complaining as much. But the feud sucked. I mean, leading into WrestleMania, it was good. But after WrestleMania, the feud took a turn for the worst. It's fucking sucked. That Extreme Rules match was awful. The Payback match was pretty good. But Wyatt lost that too. He got legitimately buried, literally buried by John Cena and a stack of steel steps or a table or whatever the hell it was. And he lost that match. And the guy went on to lose to Jericho at Battleground. He wasn't even on TV in the final few months of the year of 2014. And even then he was a loser. And then fast forward to earlier this year in the match with Taker. Again, a great match. Very few people can say they faced Undertaker at WrestleMania of the current roster. But where was Bray Wyatt? He wasn't at Extreme Rules. He wasn't at Elimination Chamber. He beat Ryback in a random-ass match at Payback. So what's the point, you know? So I just thought the aftermath of that feud was terrible. I still say that was a waste of time. It was a good match. Taker wasn't even on TV to promote it. I thought the build to their Survivor Series match was better than the one leading up to WrestleMania, just because Taker never showed up once on TV. He didn't show up afterwards. He didn't talk about the feud. And they completely ignored it when he came back in the summer until they rekindled it in time for a Survivor Series. I just thought it was a waste of time. They cannot do that again. That's my whole point here. He cannot lose his next feud. I don't care if it's the Brock Lesnar or fucking Zack Ryder. He cannot lose his next feud. He has to win at WrestleMania. He has to win. But who will he feud with next? Again, I feel like they're just going to have him dominate the Royal Rumble, and we'll see what his next WrestleMania feud is after that. But I really do not have any plans for Wyatt at WrestleMania. I mean, I have my top 3 or 4 matches at WrestleMania, and beyond that, I have no idea where Bray Wyatt fits into the equation. Again, I've heard rumors of Lesnar Wyatt, but I mean, that'd be cool and all, but again, you know Lesnar will win, so what's even the point? I'm not saying Lesnar should lose anyway, it's just, why? Not right now. Maybe down the line, just not right now. But for now anyway, I just don't think it really makes much sense to do that feud or whatever. But we'll see. Enough ranting on Bray Wyatt. I just really want him to win his next feud. I know he won his last feud and he's winning right now, but he needs to win at WrestleMania. Otherwise, people won't care. People will not care. Trust me. Okay, so his third and final question here from at Sean Markistic. Do you see the Dudley Boys winning the tag team titles before the end of their run? I do. I mean, I really don't know how they wouldn't. I mean, they're the most popular tag team with the exception of the New Day, obviously. They're not just here to put people over. That's kind of their purpose, which is why I kind of scratch my head when people say, oh, they're being buried right now. I'm sure it's them saying, no, we want to lose this match. You know, maybe they were supposed to win Hell in a Cell. But maybe the Dudley Boys spoke up and said, why would you kill the hottest act in the company by taking the titles off of them? You know? So I would keep the belts on Dudley Boy or on New Day for a little while longer. And I've said this for the last couple months, and one of my friends brought it up to me, and I thought it was a great idea, that you have them win the belts at the 20th anniversary show at WrestleMania. At WrestleMania 32 in Texas. Not the 20th anniversary of WrestleMania, but the 20th anniversary of the Dudley Boys getting together. They've kind of teased being there, and maybe you do a triple threat tag team match with the Dudley Boys, the Usos, and New Day, or I don't think the Hardy Boys will be back by then, but you know what I mean, though. So anyway, yeah, I feel like they will win the championships before long. I don't know how soon it will be. It might be weeks, it might be months, but their run might last 2 years. So if that's the case, there's no doubt in my mind they will win the championships at some point. Just New Day are so hot right now, there's no point taking the titles off of them at the moment. At E13A, I have been seeing Jim Ross suggest face turns for the New Day, the Wyatts, and New Day. New Day because they're too well liked and comical to be proper heels, and the Wyatts since they don't have much steam as villains right now. Do you agree or disagree with either? Right now, I mean, I don't know if I would turn either of them, but down the line, absolutely. The Wyatt family, Bray Wyatt, there's money in him as a babyface, I feel like. I don't know if I would turn him right now just because we have no heels, and he's not really all that credible as it is. Again, he's been winning recently, but he's not at that top heel spot. Not even close. No one is. Sheamus is a fucking loser. Barrett's a loser. Rusev's a loser. Del Rio is alright, but he'll be a loser tonight when he loses to John Cena, when he loses to John Cena on Raw. So yeah, I feel like right now probably not. Down the line, yes. New Day, I could see them turning them in the near future, just because I was thinking just recently we have so many heel stables and tag teams and factions with the Cosmic Wasteland, if you want to count them, but technically they count. Cosmic Wasteland, New Day, Wyatt, League of Nations, Authority. So we got a lot of heel tag teams right now that you're gonna have to turn one eventually, and we got a lot of face tag teams too, but if any one heel faction's going to turn, it has to be New Day, because they're so over, they can work as baby faces. I wouldn't turn them right now. I do agree with Jim Ross on both. Wouldn't turn them at the moment, just because they're both, Wyatt family. There's still some left to do as heels, and we don't have any heels right now. And with the New Day, there's so many still tag teams for them to face as heels that I wouldn't turn them just yet. But before long, I'm sure both teams will be baby faces, maybe by the end of 2016. The second question here. Kurt Angle said that despite the talent, he is not interested in coming to WWE's minor league NXT. What are your thoughts? Can you blame him? It's not really a shot at NXT. Let's get that out of the way here. It's not a shot at NXT for him to say, I don't want to go there. And why? I mean, as a trainer, sure, but for him to have a last run in NXT, he's not Rhino. I love Rhino, but he is not Rhino. He's Kurt fucking Angle. Brock Lesnar... Kurt Angle and Lesnar are two very different people, I know, but Lesnar didn't go back to developmental before he came back to the main roster. Same thing with The Rock and RVD and Jericho and the Dudley Boys. If they wanted to put people over in NXT, they'll bring in people like a Joe or a Rhino or a Brian Kendrick. They're not going to bring back the money players to NXT full time. So I don't even know why people would ask him that. I mean, I could see why someone would ask them, oh, what are your thoughts in NXT right now, being the hottest thing in wrestling? And he did say that in the interview, excuse me. And he has said, he loves NXT, but to have his last run in NXT, why would he want to? Because at the end of the day, despite how hot NXT is, it's still a developmental brand. And unless he's going there to put people over, like, Rhino has been, then why would he go back to NXT? It's kind of common sense. Like, why would you even ask him that? He wouldn't want to go back to NXT. It's not a shot at NXT. The guy's a money player. If he's going to come back to WWE, it's going to be on Raw, SmackDown, the main roster. It's not going to be in NXT. Maybe as a trainer down the line, or as a GM, or as a backstage agent or something in NXT. Sure, but to come back as a full-time active wrestler or part-time or whatever, it's not going to be in NXT. Trust me. He will be back at some point. I don't know how soon, but he will be back at some point. I would say at the earliest, maybe 2017. Third question from him. How do you feel about the chance in NXT recently Full Sail and the NXT takeover in the UK, particularly with Bayley? I love them. I absolutely love the fan chants. I think they're great. Don't chant "We are awesome" or anything like that, which the London crowd did not do, so I commend them for that, but chants are great. I mean, sometimes people could say, oh, they're annoying. I didn't know what they were chanting. They were English songs. Why would anyone not want them to chant? Is my question at the UK takeover thing. Why would you not want the fans to be a lively crowd and kind of be a hot audience and whatever and chant their heads off? You need that hot crowd. That's what we're lacking on the main roster today. We all complain about how the Raw crowds nowadays suck because there's nothing really to get invested in, for one thing, and just two, a lot of the cities they go to aren't really energetic. Energetic. There we go. Energetic? No. Energy. Intergetic. Fuck, I'm messing up my lines here. I can't even say the word. I'm not going to end this video until I get this word right. Energetic? We'll go with energetic, whatever. But you know what I'm trying to say here, right? So the chants are good. The chants bring life to the product. They bring life to the show. Why would you not want people to chant? I don't care if you don't understand what they're saying. It was still awesome. I was sitting there laughing my ass off, not knowing what they were singing at Bayley last week or 2 weeks ago. But I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was great. I mean, I could see, maybe you could take away from the match, but give me a fucking break. I'd rather see people having fun than sitting on their hands the whole time, just like, oh, so the match is over? Yay. I don't like those kind of crowds. Who likes those kind of crowds? I'd much rather have a crowd being overbearing or annoying or whatever, with chanting things that we don't even know what they're saying and taking away from the match. The commentators do that anyway, so I don't want to hear that shit, that they're taking away from the match. They're adding to the excitement of the match, in my personal opinion. And I'm getting so heated over this, but it's just so annoying to me why people think that the chants are annoying. Why would you want them to stop chanting? I know that you may not understand what they're saying, but that's the UK. It's Bizarro World, as Michael Cole likes to say all the time. They're not Bizarro World. It's called a real wrestling audience that knows how to make a show entertaining, not sitting on their hands the entire time and listening to you assholes talk about whatever, you know? So I thought it was great. I agree on Jim Ross and the other thing with the New Day and the Wyatts, not on this subject. I didn't hear him talk about this. I heard he talked about it. I didn't hear him, he himself say it, but someone said that that Jim Ross wasn't happy with the chants. I don't agree. I feel like they were awesome. It really added to the show. I'd much rather them be having a fun time, just having them be entertaining and enjoyable and just being a complete blast than sitting on their hands the entire time. That's my personal opinion. And their fourth and final question here, what are you most excited about in Lucha Underground Season 2? Everything, my man. Everything. I mean, Lucha Underground have been waiting to come back since it ended. Everything about that product, everything about that promotion is just so awesome, how all the storylines tie together. Not Mazda, what's his name? Batista or something like that. The big monster that was the brother of, not King Cuerno, what was his name? The main, now I'm kind of starting to lose a train of thought here with, I don't remember, but anyway, who the main authority figure was, his brother, Matazda, I think his name was, or whatever it was. They showed his face at the end of Lucha Underground Season 1, or at least half of it with a mask on or something like that. I want to know more about that guy. I'm so looking forward to, probably above all else, Rey Mysterio being in Lucha Underground. I know he really can't wrestle as well as he used to, just because he's been injured so much, and he's a veteran, whatever. Make all the arguments that you can, but it will undoubtedly bring more attention to that product. He's the biggest Latino luchador name you can bring to Lucha Underground right now, other than Del Rio, and they already had him and he left. I'd rather see him in Lucha, but that's just me. So anyway, I'm just looking forward to Season 2, period, but probably more so than anything else, Rey Mysterio. I've been waiting for him to arrive there since he left WWE about a year ago, so it should be cool to see him in Lucha Underground in the very near future. At FiorNick579, should Bayley, Sasha Banks, and Becky Lynch be pushed in 2016? In a perfect world, yes. I mean, you're saying, should they be pushed? Definitely. Will they be pushed? All three of them? I can't attest to all of them. Probably Bayley and Banks. I don't know about Becky Lynch. I hope so. But they should all be pushed. Absolutely. They're all great. His second question, should Sasha Banks turn babyface since she's so over and should break away from Team Bad? Definitely. I mean, at some point, yes. Just because we have no babyface women right now other than Becky Lynch. Charlotte's turning, Lana's heel, Summer Rae is heel, all of Team Bella, I guess, his team is heel, Team Bad is heel. So, I would turn Paige is heel. So, I would turn her babyface, hopefully sooner rather than later. The whole faction wars need to end. I'm so sick of 6 women, 8 women tag team matches. End that shit already. And, just end Team Bad. We do not need Team Bad together anymore. So, I would get rid of Team Bad and put Sasha on her own. Naomi is damaged goods right now. Tamina, I just do not care about Tamina. So get Sasha from them as far away as possible. Put her on her own. Turn her babyface. And I think that'd be a great idea going into 2016. His third question, should Cesaro, Balor, Neville, Ziggler, and Kalisto be pushed in 2016? Again, should they all be pushed? Absolutely. Will they be pushed? Let's break it down. Cesaro, probably not. Let's face it. I mean, if he was going to be pushed, and he has been pushed this year. Let's not lie to ourselves. He has been pushed this year, but not at the level that we wanted him to, like towards the top. He was kind of like at a mid-card level in the matches with John Cena that were kind of his breakout performances. Other than that, he really didn't do much. Balor, probably, I feel like 2016 will be the year he gets in the main roster. Neville, I feel like will continue to be a loser until they start pushing him. Ziggler, same thing, will never get above a certain level at this point. Kalisto, I feel like he will be pushed, either part of the Lucha Dragons or on his own, just because they see so much in him. I mean, they brought back Del Rio, okay, but I feel like Kalisto can kind of fulfill that Latino role that they've been missing for years since Rey Mysterio left and Del Rio left for the first time and Sin Cara was a bust. Kalisto can fill that role, in my personal opinion. He's a very good wrestler. He sounds exactly like Rey Mysterio, and after that amazing performance at TLC, I feel like they finally recognized that he could be something special in the future. I read somewhere that his size may work against him. Fuck that. Rey Mysterio was like 4 foot something, and the guy became a world champion. I know maybe that wasn't the original plan, but he got pretty far in WWE and got very, very, very over. So that being said, I feel like Kalisto will be just fine. Out of the people that you mentioned, the most likely to get pushed, in my personal opinion, probably Balor, who I said before, they would have to really try to not get him over in order for him to fail, because he's just going to be naturally over when he arrives. So Balor and Kalisto will be the most likely to be pushed of that group of people in 2016. And the next couple questions here as we finish up. Should Paige return to the main roster as the anti-diva from NXT? I've heard people say that. It would be cool. I liked Paige more as the anti-diva. She's fine now, but she's turned one too many times for her to really matter at this point. Maybe if they started building her up and giving her more wins and being more consistent with it, then maybe. But, yeah, the anti-diva character I always liked, so bring it back at some point would be cool. Which former WWE pay-per-view should WWE bring back? They won't, but I mean, they have in the past. They brought back No Way Out at one point. They brought back Vengeance, so there is a chance, but I always loved Backlash, No Mercy, Unforgiven. I don't know if they were too PG-13 for the company or whatever. That's where they did away with them for the new gimmick pay-per-views, but anyway, I would bring back Backlash or King of the Ring, absolutely. I've been saying that forever. I mean, I know after the tournament, flopped last year, they may not do that, but I liked it as a pay-per-view. At Cody Collier 37, who do you think Roman Reigns will face at the Royal Rumble and why? Like I said earlier, probably Sheamus. If not, put the title on the line in the Rumble match itself, which, like I said, someone said on the Solid Monster Sounds Off podcast yesterday. I think that's a great idea, but probably Sheamus. They should blow that off in the first Raw of the year, but they probably won't. I would just do it on the they'll probably just do it at the Rumble, Reigns and Sheamus for the championship. And why? Just because they're still doing that feud. Just that the feud isn't good, but they're going to give Sheamus his rematch at some point. At Reborn Again, do you think 2016 will improve on the at times lackluster booking in 2015? I can only speculate and say yes. I think 2015 has been a great year for WWE. By and large, taking into consideration the last couple months, but everything else before that I thought was very, very good, or at least by today's standards. I think 2016 will be a good year. I'm just holding out hope. I'm not really basing that off anything, but I'm crossing my fingers for a good year from WWE. Do you think there's a chance either Cameron, Tamina, Alicia Fox, or Eva Marie get released in 2016? Cameron, then maybe. Tamina, maybe. They would have gotten rid of her by now if she was that bad. Alicia Fox, she might just leave on her own. Eva Marie, probably not, just because they have so much faith in her, so probably not. And she's a part of Total Divas. And at Scarlet One, what is your Christmas wish for 2016? I don't know. Probably just to get Dean Ambrose a world championship. Big Show to retire. I guess any two of those, but I'll be doing a full list of 7 things I want to see happen in 2016 in WWE this Friday on the video blog right here on the channel, so be sure to check that out. So we'll answer your question in full this Friday on the video blog. There's 7 things I want to see happen in WWE in 2016. So perfect plug there. Be sure to check that out on Friday. Perfect segue to end the show. So thank you guys for a great final episode of 2015. I really appreciate it. It's been the biggest and best year yet for #AskGSM, the channel on the whole. This will be my last live video. I'll be having Wrestle Rant radio excerpts going the next couple days, a Wrestle Rant video. But other than that, the first and the final, face-to-face video like this of the year. So I just want to thank you guys for a great and awesome year for YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Bleacher Report, What Culture, Next Air Wrestling, Wrestle Rant Radio, everything, guys. All your support is greatly appreciated. You guys are the best. Continue to send in those questions on Twitter at WrestleRant, on Facebook at facebook.com, / Graham.GSM.Matthews, and also right here on YouTube in the comments section. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'll catch you guys in 2016 and down the road. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Happy New Year's, folks, and I'll catch you guys in the new year.